It is the Riot Podcast. This is the Friday, November 3rd edition. And before we get into the podcast, I thought you might like to know about some other podcasts you don't care about. That's how every other podcast starts out. So maybe we should do that too. What do you think?
Talk about another podcast?
Well, it's not. I mean, normally it would be like a produced thing of like, listen to the people talking about politics and economics and in a very specific niche way. Listen now on iHeart or whatever.
Yeah, it's like one of their sister podcasts.
Yeah.
We don't have any sisters.
We do, kind of. But
the Riot Interviews podcast.
Yeah, the RadioU Interviews podcast. You can subscribe to that. But I just don't understand why.
They just did what they do.
I don't understand why if I'm listening to a sports podcast, they're like, and listen to this person talking about history or whatever.
Well, they're forced to do that.
But they
they're
don't
not choosing to do that.
It's very ineffective advertising because they're not related at all.
But
if
that's
it was
what
like, listen to this other
is.
sports podcast that's related, then maybe.
That's what all advertising is. It's never related.
It's supposed to be targeted.
Scroll through
It'd be much more
any
effective.
TV. You turn on your TV and you see commercials, man. It's just all over the place. It's State Farm to McDonald's to BK to something else.
Well, it's
crazy.
very wide. Those are wide ranging in many cases. It's like if you're watching football, you probably are hungry. McDonald's. But if you're listening to football, you probably don't want to listen to some podcast that has nothing to do with it.
They're just forced to do it, man.
Yeah.
It's cross advertising. It's free advertising for them too. That's the biggest part.
That's why we're better, though. That's why we're better, because we don't do that.
We just did that.
But we don't normally.
But we wouldn't normally do that.
One time. And we only did it to point out how we never do it. And we won't again. Today in the
will again.
Today in the podcast, we talk about the richest things you've seen people do. And Isaiah and I have never done any of them. We also talk about why people feel unsafe when they're out and about at night partying, and why Isaiah and I a very roundabout way where we could help.
We could make people feel all right.
Mm-hmm.
We also talk about men's hair loss and why if you're currently trying to get your hair back,
Mm-hmm.
you may be in more trouble than you even realize.
And if you have any thoughts of losing your hair, the time to act is now.
It is.
No matter where in the stage of hair loss you are. You might not have even started, but the time to act is now. That's the podcast. Enjoy.
We'll catch you guys soon.
Have a good weekend.
You won't hear a show like this anywhere else. And that's probably for the best. The worst of the riot. Radio U.
Have you ever, you haven't had to take any hair loss drugs? Am I allowed to ask that?
You can ask me that, yeah.
Because the answer's no.
The answer, yeah. If the answer was yes, then I would say don't ever ask me that on the air.
Mm-hmm.
But I've got pretty thick hair. But my roommate, he does like preventative hair loss stuff.
Okay. So what is it? Running his family or?
Nope.
So he just
He
is
just
really
had
afraid.
like he had like he was a big fear of his.
Yeah.
He had like thinner hair growing up, not like really thin,
Mm-hmm.
just like a little thin kind of. Just like had pretty normal hair.
Wispy
Yeah, just
hair?
like almost normal.
Okay.
And it was just thin, and so he has done preventative hair loss stuff because he's just on top of his game like that. It's pretty impressive.
Does that actually work though?
It does.
How do you know? How can you tell?
Because I can see his hair. What he's done, his hair is so thick now. It's like mine. It's crazy.
So what does he do?
He puts these little drops in like every day.
In his hair?
In his hair. He puts these little drops in every night before he goes to bed.
Mm-hmm.
And his hair is so thick now.
That's interesting. It's great. It sounds like a crazy thing to do, to like preventative.
And he's been doing it since he was like probably 23.
But at the same time, that's a big thing you wouldn't want to lose. So it makes a lot of sense. Well, I'll tell you, if he's using what is the main active ingredient in Rogaine, they call it minoxidil. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
I think that is what he uses, actually, minoxidil.
Minoxidil. Well, it may be in short supply. He may have trouble getting his hands on it, or maybe he's the reason.
He's using so much.
Yeah, he's using
people like him who don't actually need it.
Yeah, that's right. He's got plenty of hair. He doesn't need it, and he's keeping it away from the guys that are actually starting to get a little thin up there. But nevertheless, according to George Washington University, they are raising the alarm bells about shortages of minoxidil because they were just published a study in the Journal of Drugs and Dermatology that says looks like the minoxidil is starting to run low.
See, when I see things like this, because it's not like if you're doing it every day and you're trying to get your hair grown back, I feel like if you took like a month off, that might as well be a full reset, right?
Yeah.
Like you're starting back from square one. All the drops that you've done before mean nothing now.
Yeah, you gotta continue on with this in perpetuity.
Yeah, like he's been doing it for like, I think like 2 years at least straight every day.
It literally says the medication must be taken every day for patients to maintain their progress. A shortage can be detrimental.
You know, there's someone waking up this morning on his way into work.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I need to order it right now.
Yeah, no, get your hands on as much as you can, is what I'm saying.
Stock up.
Buy it up. Because, you can't afford to go a week without.
This isn't one of those things that, like, when there's a shortage of it, you're like, well, let's make sure everybody gets some.
Yeah, let's
Save
ration
yourself.
it. Maybe just do it once a week.
This is about you.
Yeah.
This is all. Don't worry about anybody else.
Yeah.
Save yourself.
Then again, it's not like anybody's going to, like, die, right?
But to some people,
you can't die from hair loss.
Listen, to some people, they've been working to get that flow back for 3 months, and they're starting to see some progress. And those hair's getting a little bit thicker. It's not still quite there yet, but it's getting close.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you can go right back to square one.
And to some people, losing their hair is worse than death.
And this is the other thing too, is usually when you start to lose your hair, if you get on this early, then you can save it.
Yeah.
But if you wait too long, there's no saving it anymore.
There's nothing to save.
And so if you misstep here for a month, and then all of a sudden you regress, you may not be able to get the progress back that you've made.
So we're telling you right now, there's supposedly a shortage of minoxidil, Rogaine. You go out there, you buy up as much as you can. Otherwise, you go out there, you buy as many hats as you can.
Nobody does it better. The Riot Radio U.
Now, if you're going out this weekend, odds are you're going out to like a, party, have a good time on Saturday night. Odds are you're going to feel unsafe doing it, apparently. This is surprising to me that literally 50% of people, according to a new survey, feel unsafe when they are out partying. And that number is even higher. If you're under 24 years old, it's 62% of people that feel unsafe when they are out and about partying on a Saturday night. Isaiah, what is your advice for people that feel unsafe when they're out trying to have a good time? Like, how can you have a good time if you're feeling nervous the whole time?
It sounds like you're in the wrong spot. If you had to ask me, if you don't feel safe, why don't you feel safe? I'm trying to find in the study, in the survey, why most people don't feel safe.
48% of people say they find like security intimidating. And so for many of them, they would not want to approach a security guard with their problem. Apparently, if they're feeling unsafe for another reason, they're not feeling protected either, is part of what they are theorizing here in this study. What they are putting forward is that people don't feel protected by the people that are there to protect them.
Well, I can imagine that. I feel like maybe like the bouncer scene is probably a little bit intimidating. Somebody working the door.
Well, that's part of their job.
Yeah.
They're
supposed to look intimidating.
Maybe the bouncers are thinking this. They're like, yeah, it is so difficult. I have to look intimidating to people that need to be intimidated, but also look welcoming to people that need to be welcomed. And I just, it's a tough balance to strike.
They might not be as good as being welcomers. It's not like if you're walking inside, it doesn't feel like you're walking into Walmart and they're like, hello, what would you like to find today?
Yeah.
They're usually like, you're not dressed appropriately to be in here.
They never get to be the good guy.
They're never the good guy.
Yeah.
See, now if I was like a doorman, I think that I would be pretty welcoming, but I would lack the intimidation factor.
Nobody would be intimidated by you. They would
walk right by me.
Nobody would be less safe than if you or I was a doorman.
No, that's so right. They would be like, the people who are walking inside would be like, I feel safe. They wouldn't even say I feel safe. They would say, I feel welcomed.
Yeah,
But no way I
right.
feel safe because he's not stopping anybody.
Yeah. People don't even need a weapon to
No.
to intimidate us. They're just their fists. That's all they need.
Like, imagine some guy trying to get inside and not being like, those shoes ain't going to kick it tonight, buddy.
Yeah.
Keep it stepping.
Yeah. It wouldn't make a lick of difference.
Gym shorts, buddy? Yeah, right.
Really?
Down the street.
Yeah. I think there's a place for you.
You're not getting in here.
A couple blocks over.
Uh-huh.
You know what? They wouldn't even need a weapon to intimidate me. Like if I was a doorman, they would need some angry words, some unkind,
a grim look on their face.
Passive aggressiveness. Yeah, is all it would take. And all of a sudden they're getting in and they're allowed to cause whatever havoc because I would not be helpful in any way.
Yeah,
So,
I always think if you feel uncomfortable, you need to go somewhere else where you do feel comfortable.
maybe it needs to be a two-man attack at the door. Then.
Oh, a
maybe
two-man
for
attack.
security, you need
Two medium-sized guys.
I was gonna say one big guy and one tiny guy like us.
Oh, got
tiny
it.
friendly.
You're
one
right.
tiny friendly, one big angry.
That's better.
Yep. And then boom, then everybody feels. And then like our job would be to have a rapport with the big, intimidating guy, so people would feel like they could come to us, and then we could be like tug on. Hey, Mister, Mister, can you help? We'd be the go-between.
David asks, is there a male/female breakdown on the safety report? Yes, 90% of the men felt unsafe.
What?
No, I'm just joking.
No.
If I had to guess, it would probably be the majority were female.
I was thinking the majority of females feel unsafe, and then many men as well. And yeah, as a female, you're right to feel unsafe.
I feel more intimidated by the door guys than I feel like the ladies do.
Yeah.
What are they going to do? Beat them up? They're
Right.
going to beat me up.
Yeah, right. But they have other worries.
They have other worries.
Yeah.
So they're not worried about the door guy. That's
No.
the last of their worries. He's intimidating me. To them, what's he going to do? Kick them out in a really nice way?
You're scared before you even get in the door.
Yes. And then they're scared when they get inside.
Yeah.
And then a whole myriad of other things. But when they get kicked out, they're like, all right, you have to go. If I get kicked out, I get thrown. I get thrown on the street.
Right.
They spit on me
into
when I
trash
leave.
cans like a cartoon character.
Yes, they stuff me in the locker as I leave.
This is why I don't go out.
This is Radio U's Worst of the Riot.
What is the richest thing you've ever seen somebody do?
That's a good question.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes you just see somebody do something, you're like, well, they have more money than me.
Which doesn't take much.
No, not really. But yeah, I think there's a difference between, well, they have more money, and then this, which is like, they don't even care. They've got so much money that they can do that.
We're not looking for one time I saw someone at Panda Express throw away their uneaten spring roll.
Yeah.
That's not the kind of level we're looking for.
That's just
here.
wasteful.
They would probably have more money than me if they're willing to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm looking for a little bit more than that.
Yeah. So text in 8772 Radio U. I do feel like this one is one that I feel like I need to think about a little bit. I don't know if I have an instant one that stands out except, okay, here's a good one. My wife's parents recently in town. We went out to dinner with them, and her dad paid for all of us.
That feels like a parent thing.
Yeah, that's a rich move. I hope I'm rich enough for that one day. Hope I'm rich enough to pay for more than just two people.
That's like
at a dinner at a nice restaurant,
right?
Yeah, rich families.
That feels like what they would do. You're just their second child. That's what everybody does every Friday. They go out for dinner if you have two kids.
It's a rich move.
You have to.
I'm just saying. I know that that
if you had two children, they'd be out of luck.
Yeah, two children with wives. Yeah. But
if it was you, Angela, and two kids, you're like, nope, too many.
That's a low bar to clear, though. There's got to be.
Yeah,
there's richer things.
That was essentially throwing out the spring rule. That's what you just said.
That was the gateway. It's got to be richer than that, unless you've never seen anybody do something.
We're looking for a little
really
bit more
rich
juice
before.
than that.
Yeah. 8772 Radio U, the richest thing you've ever seen somebody do.
hi there.
This worst of the riot.
Crank that up.
Radio U.
What is the richest thing you've ever seen somebody do? There's some good answers coming in. Danny texted in. He says someone once paid him $400 to destroy a dresser and take it to the dumpster because they were moving to California and didn't want to take it. How did you get, is that what they just started off with? Hey, will you take this, destroy this dresser and take it to the dumpster? I'll give you $400.
Probably.
Or did you negotiate that?
There's no way what's he saying? No, 100 more.
Well,
100 more.
Did they start at, will you do this? And Danny said, no, I'm busy. And then they said, I'll give you $400.
I'm sure they've led with the $400.
They just led with the $400.
If they're willing to do $400, they probably didn't even think about it.
Yeah, that's a wild amount. A lot of friends would just do that for free for you. But if you're moving,
he's not doing that for free.
No, but Danny knows better. $400. I like that. A lot of people texting in, just basically like people that will buy cars and not when they actually need one. As in, like, I had a friend buy a car, then buy another new car because the first one wasn't white enough when the sun hit it, for example. I also have here, this is a good one. Heidi worked at a restaurant. When a group of 10 came in, she took their drink orders and asked if they wanted to put in appetizers too. Well, the guy that was in charge of ordering was like, yeah, put in appetizers. She goes, which ones? He says, all of them. That's a pretty big move.
Wasteful.
For 10 people? All of the appetizers for 10 people. And here's Jenna, who says the owner of her company gave her a budget of $500 in gifts for a potluck contest. I guess he was just like, hey, I don't know what people usually spend on this, so here's $500 for like a small company's potluck contest prize.
That feels right.
500? Depends how big the company is. And how many
prizes
prizes are you given?
You just write that off.
That was the highest stakes potluck any of those people have ever been in, I'll tell you that.
End of the year cookout.
For the prizes, though. We're not talking about the whole budget for the whole thing.
Yeah,
We're
I know
talking
it's the prizes.
500 for prizes.
It's one thing when it's one thing when it's personal versus business. Because I know the business people can just get around a lot of things.
That's right, yeah.
Like this one here, James says, I watched a guy at a casino lose $15,000 over the course of an hour. He didn't even seem to care. That is personal.
Yeah. You know, I kind of discounted, because I've seen stuff at casinos, but I kind of just discount that as like, they could be rich or they could just be really bad.
They don't care.
They're
But that's how
they're
all
really
these
bad with money.
That's how I think about all these.
Yeah.
Like they just don't care. They might just not care. Carl said the richest thing he watched someone crash a brand new off-the-lot BMW in 2011 during the first lap session of a track day.
Okay.
Put it in the wall after the front straight and totaled it. Had to be dragged off by a tractor.
And they didn't even care.
Didn't even care.
That's just the cost of doing business.
How about this one?
Okay.
Saw this guy at a movie theater with popcorn, a drink, candy, and hot dogs.
Hey.
What's that guy doing for a living?
Yeah, right. Get me that job.
Making more than me.
Uh-huh. What's his salary?
I'm sure he got a refill.
Sounds
too.
like he's making 6 figures.
Has to be.
Yeah, maybe even 7.
Candy and hot dogs, unless he snuck all that in.
8772 Radio U, the richest thing you've ever seen.
Wasn't that a great riot clip? While you're here, you should watch more of our videos and subscribe so you don't miss what we do next.